Thank you to the Inspire America Foundation and the many organizations who have committed to the freedom and the human rights for the Cuban people for putting this event together. We have worked so hard on achieving important gains to pressure the regime in Cuba and to stand with the people of the enslaved island. And now, we must work to preserve the gains made in U.S.-Cuba policy. We have to do everything possible to prevent the current administration from squandering this opportunity to remain in solidarity with the Cuban people and to support them in their struggle for democracy. Thanks to President Trump, to Secretary Pompeo, and many others in the Trump administration, as well as like-minded members of the United States Congress, freedom for the Cuban people became a top priority for the United States. The U.S. made tremendous progress in stripping the false legitimacy and cutting off revenues to the brutal anti-American dictatorship in Cuba. Over the past 4 years, financial transactions with the Cuban military were seriously restricted. Tourism travel in the form of cruises and most flights ended with the island. Victims whose property was stolen by the Castro regime were allowed to sue those who traffic in their property. And the communist regime was returned where it belongs, to the state sponsor of terrorism list. Now, in striking contrast, we remember the disastrous appeasement policy of the Obama administration, which rolled back sanctions while demanding absolutely nothing in return from the Castro regime. But despite promising to support the embargo when campaigning in Miami in 2008, then President Obama spent the second half of his second term, when he no longer could be held accountable to the voters, doing everything that he could to undermine sanctions, to legitimize and to help fund the Castro dictatorship. He even called on Congress to end the embargo, asking nothing from the regime in return. Listen to this part. He issued a presidential policy directive requiring U.S. government agencies to directly cooperate with Castro's regime, directing our intelligence agencies and our military to work with the Castro regime. Those final 2 years of the Obama administration marked a shocking and sad, damaging reversal that we must never allow to occur again. In a few days, we will mark the 25th anniversary of the Brothers to the Rescue shootdown, in which the Castro regime murdered 4 innocent humanitarians in international airspace. That horrific and barbaric attack on Americans laid bare the utter depravity and the threat posed by the Cuban dictatorship. The regime's terrorist nature has not changed. In 2013, the regime was caught smuggling 240 tons of material to North Korea, the largest violations of sanctions against North Korea to history. Thousands and thousands of Cuban intelligence agents today continue to prop up the Maduro regime in Venezuela. Brave activists such as José Daniel Ferrer, Antunes, Oscar Bisset, Guillermo Fariñas, Eduardo Cadet, El Sexto, artists of the San Isidro movement, the Ladies in White, and many others have suffered imprisonment and unspeakable treatment for simply expressing opposition to the regime and hoping and working for freedom. And we must never forget the death of Laura Pollán, Osvaldo Payá, Harold Cepero, Orlando Zapata Tamayo, Juan Wilfredo Soto Garcia, Wilman Willar Mendoza, and Armando Sosa Fortuny, for which the regime bears direct responsibility. We also have the cases of approximately 24 American diplomats, U.S. diplomats, and their families who suffered severe, debilitating brain injuries while serving the United States in Havana. These are just a handful of examples of the regime's dangerousness and depravity in the past few years. I thank all of you for coming together for the cause of freedom of the Cuban people. We have made great progress, and we must do all that we can to preserve those gains and to do even more. The Cuban people will be free. Until then, we must maintain the pressure, the sanctions on the regime until all political prisoners are liberated, independent media, labor unions, and political parties are legalized, and free, fair, multi-party elections are scheduled. The Cuban people deserve nothing less, and we must do our part. Thank you.